The Gold Rush Byway, Highway 385. The 267-mile trail from Sydney to Deadwood created traffic, supplies, and gold to and from the mining town of Deadwood and Custer from Sydney. It helped bring people, business, and tourism to the towns, which made it expand. The trail had brought in a lot of working people to move up to $200,000 worth of gold shipments per day from the Black Hills to Sydney. The Gold Rush Byway that extends to the Colorado border all the way to the north of the South Dakota border provided an extensive Native American, military, westward expansion, and natural history. The Gold Rush Byway and its importance to Chadron, Nebraska. The original location that many had lived upon before moving to Chadron was the junction of the Missouri River and Chadron Creek, and then had moved everything 6 miles away to the border creek, including buildings and all. So it helped with building the population of Chadron, Nebraska, making its way onto the map. The town had to be moved because the railroad wanted the land that the town was originally located on.
The Gold Rush Byway was the primary route to transport gold and mining gear between Sydney, Nebraska and the Black Hills to the north during the Gold Rush of 1874. Today it enters Nebraska in the southeast portion of the Nebraska Panhandle on the state line with Colorado, northeast of Julesburg, and continues in a northerly direction to the South Dakota state line north of Chadron. Its original entry in the initial development of the U.S. highway system was in 1926. It originally ran from Comfort, Texas to Raton, New Mexico, and did not even come near Nebraska. The current incarnation of U.S. 385 was commissioned in 1959, bringing the highway into Nebraska along the new alignment that stretched from Big Bend all the way to Deadwood, South Dakota, and the Black Hills. The discovery of gold sent in a rush of prospectors westwards across the state. Most of the settlers before were mostly farmers. Over the next century, 10% of the world's gold supply would come from Lead, South Dakota in 1876. Sydney, Nebraska became an important city during the gold rush. It was an optimal starting point for gold prospectors. It was adjacent to the Union Pacific Railroad and established trails from the east as well as north via the Sydney Black Hills Trail. While prospectors flooded the area, along with them came those who would service the mining industry. This would include stagecoach lines that traveled between Sydney and the Black Hills carrying freight and passengers. Sometimes stagecoaches would depart Sydney for Deadwood 3 times a day. Stagecoaches could be cramped with up to as many as 16 people on them. Between 1874 and 1880, most of the supplies and freight coming to and from gold camps traveled this trail. Each week, gold was shipped out of the Black Hills to Sydney, sometimes with daily loads approaching $200,000 in value. It was during this time that the stagecoach robberies became frequent occurrences. However, in 1880, a railroad between Chicago and Pierre, South Dakota severely damaged the freight business in Sydney. As the faster northerly route became preferred, freight companies moved their businesses to Pierre, mostly returning Sydney to the quieter times before the gold rush. Chadron was once the scene of bitter warfare between the Indians and the whites. Later disputes also arose between ranchers and homesteaders who competed for the land the Indians had been removed from. Highway 385 follows a majority of the old trail from Sydney. After the gold rush, Chadron remained a well-established town. Chadron was selected as the site of the 4th Nebraska Normal State College on January 8, 1910. The Chadron State College is located on the grounds of the former Chadron Congressional Academy. Classes began in the summer of 1911. 248 students were registered.
The Gold Rush Byway paved the way for Chadron to become the town it is today. The Gold Rush of 1874 brought people from across the country who looked to make good fortunes. Today, the Highway 385 is still the main route of transportation for people, goods, and businesses. Highway 385 is still a vital transportation route within the United States. Because of the vast amount of vehicles on the highway, it is now being transformed into a Super 2 and will cover the entire route from Sydney to South Dakota, which is planned to be finished by the summer of 2018 and 2019.